that a small hole in the physical body represents a big hole in the spirit. We have to kind of be able to honor all levels. Now, and that honoring is what's important. And how we look at it is what is important, because we exist as multi-dimensional beings. We're not just physical beings, we're not just spiritual beings, but simultaneously we're multi-dimensional. So in the world of Asya, it's the world of duality. In the world of Absolute, the fourth world, it's the world of nothing, total oneness. There's no illusion of free will. In the world of Asya, there's an illusion of free will, because we have the idea that we're separate. Therefore, that illusion sneaks in. In the world of Absolute, there's only the will of the divine unfolding. And we're just the vehicle for that. And so, in between, you have the astral plane, the Yitzhara, and the Birya, the world of pure mind, Jnana Yoga. So we have all those worlds going on. That's us. And so we have to honor all those worlds in ourselves. So if you begin to see yourself as a multi-dimensional being, you have a better perspective. You have a better perspective. Now, so Dharma is how we hold all those worlds simultaneously, rather than being here or being there, or feeling that there's a separation. We're not separate. We're unified on all those worlds. But that's what the unification is about. So, the other thing that's interesting is often we're taught that healing starts in the spirit and goes down to the physical. Being involved with healing for the last 40 years, it doesn't seem to be the way it works. Sometimes you get a change in the physical and the spirit soars. So it can be from physical up to spirit, or from spirit down to physical. Well, that's not usually what's said, but that's really observation. And it's how Gabriel really changed the opinion of how it works. So if we look at the physical, we know that if that starts to be a shining vessel, then it will support spiritual life. We don't want to ignore the physical. But we also want to understand that the physical activates the spiritual. It's all connected. It's all one. So in that context, we look at Dharma. And in the idea of Dharma, the largest Dharma, highest Dharma, you have moksha, which is liberation. Then you have kama, which is a certain amount of pleasure. Everybody needs a certain amount of pleasure. And if you aren't getting that, you start creating deprivation, all kinds of imbalances begin to happen. And so it's very important to understand what you need and create that in your life so you're supporting the larger picture. So that's kama. Kama has a lot of meanings, but that's a simple way of understanding it, is a certain amount of pleasure. In India we call it rasa. It's the juice. Because if you just, study and meditate, you can get dry. And so you always have to have a balance, which actually makes everything else work. So that's kama. So we want to add that into our lives, because it's very easy in the spiritual unfolding to somehow want to ignore that, say, well, that's not spiritual. But really, Dharma says you have to include everything. You have to include that part of your life. And then artha is a certain amount of money. Now, we're not talking about everybody has to be wealthy. That's not what we're saying. We're saying you need enough money to be able to support your spiritual life, however that is. Some people, if their spiritual work has certain requirements, they may need more money, and other people need very little money. Whatever it is, you need enough to make what you know is right to support your spiritual life. So there's nothing wrong with making money. You make enough to make it work. You know, for only one reason, the big Dharma, to support the ability Harut. Okay. And then finally there is the Dharma within the larger Dharma, which is how to live in a way that supports your spiritual life. How to live in a way that brings you the lessons to most elevate you. And also, often people are given, whatever gifts you're given, how to express those. So your gift is given back to the world. So we have the Dharma, Artha, Kama, and ultimately Moksha. They're like the four wheels to the liberation vehicle. So that's like the bigger picture of what this is about. And all four wheels are needed. It also means, as they say, having a healthy body and working on the emotions. Now, Gabriel teaches more what we call Sanatana Dharma. Many people are familiar with that term. It's the natural way to liberation. And liberation we call Swarupa, a natural state. You're not separate, it's just a natural way of being in the world. But Sanatana Dharma is just, when you put it together and you're not straining with yourself, it's natural. It's just your expression in the world in an integrated way. So that is a way of understanding that it is truly a flow. You've heard Gabriel said before, you can't technique your way to God. You can't. And the danger, if you push it, is your ego gets in the way, because then there's a you striving to get somewhere. And it creates a little bit of it creates a problem. So the paradox is the intensity that we talked about before has to be focused into a way of life that naturally brings it about. But you're doing it because you're just doing it. Because that's the only thing that counts. Just to know God. That's it. There's nothing else that really matters. So you apply the intensity into a way of life. And then it unfolds. And then grace takes you where you need to go. So there are all these paradoxes. We joke sometimes that Kabbalah is not the way to paradise, it's the way to paradox. And we begin to understand how that works, and you have to just relax and really enjoy it by being intense at the same time. It doesn't mean just hang out. That's not what we're saying. We're saying intense focus. Let it guide you in whatever way it is. And then the only other thing that counts is showing up. You have to show up. If you don't show up, nothing happens. But the intense focus, the showing up, those are the simple components. And then it unfolds for you in a natural way. You know?